winter of 2003, a mysterious figure entered Tate Britain, one of the UK's most prestigious art museums, and placed a painting on the wall. Over the following 18 months, fake exhibits appeared in London's Natural History Museum, the Louvre in Paris, and the Museum of Modern Art in New York, all covertly installed by the same anonymous stranger.
He went through 7 different galleries, putting 7 different works of art up in these galleries. The one in the Metropolitan Museum of Art only lasted 2 hours, which was understandable because it was a painting of a rather posh-looking lady. She had a gas mask on, and that was spotted very quickly. But the one in the Museum of Art, that lasted for several days because it was a painting of a Tesco can of soup, and it looked just like the Warhol cans of soup, and no one noticed it. It was a daring thing to do. He did it, he got away with it, and everyone suddenly knew his name.
But a name was all the public had. Everything else remained a mystery. Who was the secretive artist that had evaded some of the world's tightest security to hang his own work alongside that of Monet, Picasso, and Warhol? Was he just one person? Or was Banksy a group of people? Was he hiding his identity because he was already famous, someone known to the public, perhaps a musician or actor? The stunts themselves contained clues. Banksy had launched an audacious game of cat and mouse. At the Tate, he had risked arrest to bring his art to the public. In the Met, his piece had been quickly removed by curators who were sure that it didn't belong in a gallery. And at Sotheby's, Banksy had performed an act of vandalism. And it was with vandalism that it had all started.
Graffiti has been used to start revolutions, stop wars, and generally is the voice of the people who aren't listened to. Graffiti is one of the few tools you have if you have almost nothing. And even if you don't come up with a picture to cure world poverty, you can make someone smile when they're having a piss.
Graffiti isn't an art form. Graffiti is a reaction, an impulse, is like a spark.
Dynamic, explosive, unpredictable. Some people say graffiti ruined my life, and some people say, graffiti saved my life.
A rush. It's an addiction.
The rush, I think, is sort of a consequence of it all. You're scared and your blood is pumping and your adrenaline is pumping, but really you're doing it for the recognition and not the rush.
Running around a city and getting your name up in as many places as you possibly can. The more risky, the better. You want your name as big as possible in lights, So it's fucking ridiculous, but.
Graffiti is always the heartbeat of society. It captures what's going on at that time, in that moment. For every Banksy that's on top and is visible, you've got hundreds that may be underground and invisible.
Graffiti emerged in Philadelphia and then New York in the late 60s and early 70s.
The city was in quote-unquote crisis. It was a city that didn't have much revenue. There was a lot of crime, there was a lot of drugs, a lot of poverty. Graffiti writing started in neighborhoods like the Upper West Side of Manhattan, the Bronx, Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn, and it was a movement started by young kids that were writing their names with their street numbers on the walls around town to get recognized in some way. Sort of a game of tag. You're actually putting your name on a place and sort of putting it more and more and more and exposing yourself more, and then someone else is coming and following you and doing the same thing. The game exploded when kids decided to leave their streets and go to the next street and the next street and the next street and the next neighborhood and the neighborhood after that. And it became hugely popular.
The taller and wider people sprayed their names. Then somebody came up with the bright idea of putting a second colour around their name. And before you know it, the stick letters of small names on the back of bus seats had turned into 7-foot-high letters on the side of subway trains.
And so then it really exploded and became an art movement.